Welcome to episode number 13 of From the Bunker podcast. Guys, as always, appreciate all the support. Last week was amazing with the head coach of Western Kentucky's Lady Toppers golf team. If you didn't check that episode out yet, make sure to go check out episode 12 with Coach Adam Gary. It's a great listen, especially if you're into golf. As always, today's episode is brought to you by none other than Golf Apparel Guys, a brand built by three golfers who wanted better style, but without paying that premium price tag. Back in 2024, they started testing fabrics, dialing in fits, and creating apparel that wouldn't just look good on the course, but would look good off the course as well. As you can see, definitely didn't go play golf today outside, went to the sim, but got the Ford golf hat on, got the polo on under the hoodie. You already know. If you want gear that looks good, fits right, and doesn't break the bank, check out FordGolfApparel.com. Use code from the bunker, guys. From the bunker, one word. That gets you a discount on your order, even if the stuff's on sale. Okay. And it lets them know that we sent you. I appreciate that, guys. We have got another banger for you this week. We've got on a guy named Kade, and we're going to get to that in just a minute. But let's talk a little bit about what's been going on this week. And what about VJ Singh? Comes back 62 or 64, I believe 62 years old, comes back on a all-time monies exemption, okay, and makes the cut at the first tournament of the year at the Sony Open, makes the cut, and don't only make the cut, the man didn't even get last place. I mean, he shot 4 under on the weekend. Really good outing from VJ. One of my favorite golfers of all time. If you listen to our other episodes, you know I'm a big fan of Mr. Singh. So what a outing by VJ, but hats off to Chris Goddard, who shot 16 under and took home the trophy at the first event of the year, the Sony Open out in Hawaii. A great showing with 16 under. There were some guys in the mix like Jordan Spieth, Ben Griffin was playing well. It was a fun watch. If you didn't watch it, check some highlights. But great event this week down in Hawaii. So PGA's in full swing. Another event this coming week. Right now, the Corn Ferry Tour is on their Bahamas trip. They had a tournament there last week. They're playing another one right now. Mitchell Mezzanarni is 8 under and leading the way at the Corn Ferry Tour's Bahama Classic down in the Bahamas. Beautiful, beautiful scenery down there. I've never been to the Bahamas, but seeing the social media stuff and seeing the little bit that I've watched on TV, it's a beautiful place, and I definitely want to go check it out and play some golf down there, if you know what I mean. Touching on the TGL, man, the TGL's back in full swing. If you haven't seen yet, they're also starting a women's version, which I think's epic. I actually think, my personal opinion, that they should kind of mix the two and have, expand the teams to 6 or something, do 3 men, 3 women on each team. But they're going to start a separate league with just women. I believe the first team was announced today. I think I seen like Nelly might be on it and a couple other big names in the women's golf world. So that's going to be cool to see how that works out. But let me tell you guys, Jupiter Links cannot buy a win in the TGL. Okay. I know Tiger's not playing, but they still got a solid lineup. They added Akshay, okay, which is a great ad. And they came out this past week against Atlanta, and I believe it was Atlanta. No, it was New York. I apologize. It was New York. They played New York. They came out to a 3-0 lead like that, okay? If you didn't watch it, they literally come out and were playing lights out, went up 3-0, and I believe they lost 8-3. They never won another hole after like the first 4 or 5 holes. It was a shame. If you follow TGL at all, you know that they've had the roughest go of it has been Jupiter Links. They actually play again this week. So Jupiter Links versus LA will be Tuesday at 6 p.m., which is when the evening after this episode comes out. So If you're watching in the morning tonight at 6 p.m. on ESPN, you can catch Jupiter versus LA. I just hope these guys can get a win. Man, they've got to get a win and break the ice a little bit. I think they might have got one win last year, so y'all gotta check them out. I want to also give a free shout out real quick before we get into the interview to Swing City in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Guys, if you guys follow me anywhere on social media, you've been seeing my videos. And let me just tell you, I'm not exaggerating at all when I say this is the best sim that I found yet. On top of that, they have killer food. If you're a drinker, which I'm not, they have a bar. They have a full bar, beer, whiskey, vodka, bourbon, whatever you want. It's there. Great menu, decently priced. Then they have TrackMan technology, guys. And if you take your game serious and you really want to improve, this is the type of place that you do it. They have you connect with the TrackMan app. It keeps everything that you did. So I can go back on my phone on the TrackMan app and look at the first time when I went back today, what I was hitting, my average distances, every shot breakdown, the whole 9 yards. I can look at it right on my phone. After you play enough, it even gives you your average distances per club, all these things. So look into it. And if you're not local to Bowling Green and you can't go to Swing City, I suggest finding a TrackMan simulator near you because it's just different. It is just different. If you're curious, as I'm filming this intro, there is 1 minute and 24 seconds left in the college football playoff. Miami is currently down. Indiana is currently winning 27-21 with 1 minute 42 to go as I'm talking to the camera right now. I'm hoping Indiana wins. They've had a hell of a run. They will be, fun fact, and shout out to Lot Loaded and Goated for the trivia question on this, and that's why I know it off the top of my head. But the last team in the FBS, I believe, to go 16-0 was Yale. 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 Okay. Think about that. In 1894. They were the last and only team in the big version of college football to do that. Now, back in 2019, North Dakota State did it, but they're a jump down. They don't compete for the national title like we're watching tonight. Okay, they compete for another championship. So in this bracket of football, the last team to go 16-0 and win the national title was freaking Yale. I mean, think about that in 1894. So something special at Indiana, and these guys don't even have a 5-star on the team. So that just goes to show you guys anything's possible. Impressive stuff from the University of Indiana this year. But we didn't come here to talk football. I just wanted to mention that, guys. We have on a special guest this week. And if you do content, this is going to be an epic episode for you. If you're curious about content, going to be an epic episode for you. And if you like golf and good stories, it's going to be an epic episode. We have on Kade. His name online is Kade, which is spectacular, by the way. His logo is spectacular. Feeds into the Gatorade deal. But he's from Utah. He has over 10,000 followers on TikTok. He does golf content. He does streaming of playing golf on lives, real golf and video game golf. He does rain sessions on live, all that kind of stuff. Great guy, incredible story, okay? And we just dive into content and golf, and it's just a great listen. I hope you guys enjoy my interview with Kade. So I want to talk to you guys about the Small Creators Scramble. This is a scramble hosted by small creators, but for every and anybody. If you haven't signed up yet, you're missing out. This is going to be April 18th at Crosswinds Golf Course in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Okay, we're doing this to raise money for charity. We're going to be donating to First Tee of Kentucky and Cody B. Frankie's Memorial Fund. You can sign up as a 4-man team. You can sign up as an individual and get paired. Okay, we plan on renting the course for the day, so there'll be opportunities to do all kinds of fun stuff. We're going to have contests, prizes, cash prizes, food, the whole 9 yards. Whether you want to sponsor, have a team, both, make sure to check it out. The link to sign up will be down in the description, along with my links to all my stuff from the Bunkers links and Caterade. And here's my interview with the great Cade. Welcome to episode number 12 of From the Bunker. Today, I have my man Cade that I met on TikTok Live. The guy is mega famous on TikTok, over 10,000 followers on TikTok. Congratulations on that. Does a lot of streaming, does golf content. We're going to get to know him today, learn a lot about him, pick his brain a little bit. Let's start out, man. For the people that don't know you yet, who is Cade and how did golf become a part of your life?
So, like you said, I'm Cade. I'm just your average guy. I work a 9 to 5, and growing up, I would always see kind of my dad play golf. Not very often, but then as I got older, I had a best friend who was really good at golf, and I went a couple times with him, and it got me hooked. And then from there, I just been playing since.
That's awesome, man. A lot of people that I have on there or have on here, their dads got them into golf kind of like mine did. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
I know you're from Utah. And first off, we got to address it. I mean, you're not a Mormon.
No.
You made that clear.
Yeah, no. Nothing against him.
How often do you get asked that?
So streaming, surprisingly, like maybe not as often, but a decent amount. But even like when I went to California recently and like you tell people like, and met a bunch of other TikTok creators, and a lot of them were like, you Mormon? And I was like, believe it or not everybody here in Utah is. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But it's kind of, it's kind of how it goes.
I heard that. I think that is just a common conception in the world,
Yeah.
Does being from Utah shape your content at all?
Yeah, so I think growing up here, I think one thing I noticed with just being from Utah is everybody here is just very gracious. The people you grow up, the people you work with, everybody's just so kind. I would like to say it's like I would say like a chill state. You have your things that are headaches, but the reason it kind of shaped my content is just because I like to think I'm a pretty laid back, chill guy. I want to believe that I'm a pretty gracious, kind person. And so I think being from Utah and the laid back vibe I had growing up here, I think I incorporate it into my content because it's just how I grew up. It's just who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I love the fact that you're, like ingrained in your state. You represent it and you stand on it. I like that. You've only been golfing for like 4 years.
Yeah.
But you're already a 6 to 8 handicap, which is super impressive. When did you realize you were actually, getting pretty good at golf?
So I started playing golf a couple years ago. And a big thing for me that I really picked up on was I was playing so much with my friends. And then once I started playing with them, seeing how good they are, like my best friend who I golf with, he's a scratch golfer. And so going with him, it was frustrating because all the other things we do with each other, I would always beat him at video games, everything like that. But then on the golf course, he just destroyed me. And so it was kind of like that competitiveness inside me to be like,
Right.
I don't want you to beat me. I want to beat you. Once I started playing with him more, he actually started playing less. And so then I was like, okay, here's my chance. I'm going to go to the range. I'm watching the TikToks. I'm learning from people who are just better than me to get better. And I mean, it kind of goes to show, but being like doing content around golf, most of the content you see throughout the internet is going to be your scratch golfers, your YouTubers who are really good at golf. And it's kind of like I said earlier, I'm just an average guy. I'm not your scratch golfer, but hopefully the people that all watch, my content can kind of see like the goal is to become a scratch golfer and hopefully relate more to the average person that just plays golf that isn't necessarily as good as, the guy who's getting birdies every hole,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I know for me, I'm one of those guys that isn't very good. I've only been playing about a year, but I'm putting a lot of work into my game. But
Mhm.
A lot of the people that follow me tell me, how they like to watch my shit because I post the bad stuff and the good stuff. I'll post a
Mhm.
double, a triple bogey, me, hitting 3 bad shots on a hole, whatever. And that resonates with people, kind of like you're saying, being that normal guy and not being the perfect golfer and only posting the perfect stuff. People like to see that.
See, and I think you nailed it on the head. I think, and I know we'll talk about it later on, but it's kind of like like when I do my live streaming and I go play around. Doing it live compared to you see a lot of people just posting, hey, play 9 holes with me, do this with me. Do me going live and doing it, you kind of get that sense of, oh, we're gonna see every shot, how it goes, and you're gonna see the good, you're gonna see the chunk, you're gonna see the bad. But then you're also gonna see, the pars, the birdies to kinda
Right.
show that, "Hey, okay, you know what I'm like, he knows what he's doing," but then you're also gonna get the critics when when you chunk a chip.
Yeah, authenticity, man. That's
Exactly.
people like that in content, I've learned. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but at first, what got you hooked on golf? Was it the competitive side or the creative side?
So the biggest thing for me was the competitive side. I kind of said it before, but my best friend being a good golfer, and then I've kind of always been better than my dad at golf, so it wasn't a huge thing there. But it was my best friend, and then actually my father in law. My father in law is also a very good golfer, and I golf with him a lot, probably more than anybody. And so on top of that, like just random people I play with, the people I work with at my job, they just so everybody's so good at golf, and it's like I want to be the best. I want to be the guy that always gets invited to the scramble tournament.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? So
absolutely. You want to be that A player, man.
yeah, and then fortunately enough, the competitive is kind of what started it, but now it's a little bit of the competitiveness and the content aspect of it now.
Right. Yep. So you've been doing social media for about 3 years, you said. What did your early content look like compared to now?
So it's actually funny. I was talking to my wife about this, but my content has changed so much from what I do now to what I did before. Like I actually started a big thing for me was, a lot of shooters, like a lot of other streamers, your Call of Duty, your Counter-Strike and games like that, but those are hard avenues to kind of push into unless you're kind of an OG of those games or you have just a different pizzazz about yourself. And I noticed myself, when I was streaming at the time, I noticed myself kind of being in a spot where when I was playing games like that, where you're kind of in that competitive mindset of playing a game, like a shooting game, I noticed myself not being as entertaining. It was more difficult to be entertaining because of that, I think I just struggled. Like I didn't necessarily love my content. It just felt like I was not fully invested like I should be. Now that I am at a point where I kind of have a niche of golf, and you say that now, like I say niche of golf, but even now, golf really isn't a niche anymore. I want to believe that I maybe got ahead of it a little bit in a way, doing it from TikTok compared to YouTube. But I think being in a niche a little bit more has kind of reinvigorated like my passion to be dedicated to something. Whereas back then it was just kind you kind of hope that whatever game you're feeling like playing, kind of hoping it hits. Where is golf now? I know I can get on and I'm passionate about golf and I can be dedicated to that and making it, an A plus experience.
Absolutely. At what point did you realize, okay, people are actually tuning in for this? Like, I've got something going here. Was it when you made that switch to more golf niche, or was it before that? What kind of was that moment like, man, I got something going?
So it's always tricky to kind of pinpoint it, but I think the way I kind of see it is I probably gained about 2,000 followers doing the older content, and it was going good. And I think a lot of that had to do with my personality versus like my skill in the actual game. I was kind of seeing a little bit of viewership here and there, but then when I kind of made the hard switch to golf and I kind of developed a routine of how I would stream. I developed a consistency of on the weekdays stream from 5 o'clock to 7 or 8 o'clock. and stick with golf. And then on the weekends, a big thing I noticed was just early in the morning, about your 6 a.m. Like I'm an early bird. And so getting up at 6 a.m. and streaming before almost everybody's streaming, funny story. I don't want to get sidetracked here, but
No, go ahead, brother.
if you're familiar with like Optic Gaming.
I'm not. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge follower of streaming. So the reason that I stopped on yours
Mhm.
was because you were playing damn golf.
Fair
I
enough.
mean, seriously, you know what I'm saying? So if you would
Fair
have been
enough.
playing Battlefield or Call of Duty, which I'll play that, okay,
Yeah,
don't get
yeah,
me
yeah.
wrong, but I'm not going to sit there and watch somebody else play damn Call of Duty. You know what I'm saying? But I'll get on there and watch you for 30 minutes play golf because I might want to play you because I'm serious
Exactly.
about PGA 2K25. So when I seen you doing that, that's what caught my attention and made me stop. And then I was like,
Yeah,
damn, his setup's awesome.
I appreciate that.
All that stuff. That's what kind of dragged me in
Mhm.
and how I met you on there.
See, and I think with it all, like I started playing golf and I developed just like a good streaming habit, and that's when I really saw. I remember there was one day specifically where I think I hit 30 viewers, and I was like, "Oh, snap, like there's people coming in and people are really supporting this." And then I remember one time, I think I gained quite a bit of followers. I think I was probably at 5,000, and I was like, "Wow, this is great." And then there was a 2-month period where I was getting on every day and I was averaging 130 people watching me. And I was
That's
like,
insane.
this is crazy. Like I'm catching steam, like something is happening. And that's where for me, I noticed, okay, golf is what is going to hit for people, what people are going to find interesting. Fortunately for like playing PGA specifically, like I like to think I'm pretty good at PGA. And so I think at that point I had chosen, okay, golf is what I'm sticking to. And probably like you, but like I watch a lot of the golf content throughout the internet, YouTube golf, all the other I would say like TikTok creators that do golf and things like that. Like I see all that probably similar to you. And so for me, I said, this is great because even though a lot of people are doing golf, I can be in a niche of streaming golf, on my computer and also, in person as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And kind of it gives you another outlet. It's
Hmm.
not just streaming, like with Call of Duty, those sort of things, you're kind of limited to only streaming. It's not like you're going to go out and put gun videos on TikTok. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
with golf, like you said, you were able to take that and make actual content out of it, plus do the streaming. And then also, golf is just so popular, man. Like,
Yeah.
me myself, I had no want to, never thought about being a content creator. I always knew that I wanted to do like a podcast or be a sports announcer or something like that. And I love sports. I've always been into golf, but I played a little when I was young with my dad, and then
Hmm.
he passed away when I was 18. So
I'm sorry to hear that.
I appreciate that. I kind of put golf to the side because that was something I did with him, and I was like, I'll never play again.
Yeah.
And I went 10 years without playing, and then the Tennessee Titans, our NFL team here in Tennessee, they invited me to a scramble that they were doing, the Hermitage, and that's where we went and played, and I took a buddy of mine, Trent Blackburn, shout out Blackburn Construction, no free shout outs yet. I'm gonna send you an invoice. But anyways, I took him with me, and then we played with my rep from the Titans. And dude, I was terrible. I was still swinging these Jack Nicklaus clubs that I have right here that I got when I was a child. No, this is a Tour Max, but either way, I was swinging some old ass clubs. I was slicing everything. It was horrible. I hadn't hit a golf ball in 10 years. And then I didn't pick up golf for another year after that. And then I got with a new group of friends that they went out and played golf a couple times a week. And they were begging me and begging me and begging me to come. And I was like, man, I'm not a golfer, you know?
Yeah.
And then finally they got me out there one day and I fell in love with it. I loved hanging out with the boys, the competitiveness, the fun of
Yeah.
it. Left the golf course, went and bought a new set of clubs right then.
That's how it goes.
Dude, I've been doing it ever since. And then, matter of fact, what happened was my fiance actually started the TikTok, and she got into the TikTok shop pretty quick. And she started selling these cell phone chargers on the TikTok shop and made like $350 in a month selling like
Wow.
these $5 cell phone chargers. Sold like, a couple thousand of them,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, hell, I'm a better salesman than you. Like, I got to get on TikTok. So I started the TikTok, and then, man, I've just been full steam ahead, which I haven't got to the point where, I've had anything go viral or anything to the point where
Mhm,
I've got a shit ton of followers. I've got a shit ton of views, decent amount of likes. I've been doing it for about a year, but
mhm.
still trying to break through, still trying to break through.
It can be difficult, you know. I think even from my perspective, whether I have 10,000 or not, one thing I still struggle with to this day is breaking through on the views aspect. You know, I'm in the same boat as far as I've had 2 or 3 videos probably get, you know, in the I think 45,000 to 25,000 and maybe like 15,000. I've had 3 posts that have done that. And even for me, like, even though they're great posts and they did well, but I didn't really, besides the views, I didn't really gain much on it. Like, I didn't get I really didn't get many followers from that. And so for me, like, when I started streaming, it happened to be just always playing games with my friends. You know, I've been with my wife for 6 years. Like, me and my wife been together 6 years, married 2. And one thing that she saw, I was just playing games with my buddies, and she was like, you know, you should like stream. And I was like, you know what, you're right. Like, maybe I'll try it. She's like, you have the personality. Like,
She loved to hear that. She loved to
yeah.
hear that I'm right.
Yeah, she was just like, "You should just do it." Like, and so I ended up doing it, but even, you know, relating to you, I can understand feeling like posting, it can be kind of difficult. You know, you do put a lot of time and effort into editing, and I've gotten better at it, but I give a lot of the credit to my wife and actually my sister-in-law. They do a lot of, you know, a lot of the content that I post specifically, I go to them for advice. They watch a lot of TikTok. They know what is kind of popular, and they aren't necessarily on golf TikTok, but they just see what's trending and things like that. And so if I have an edited post, and I mean, I'll admit it, like, they've even edited posts for me because they're just better at it. And I've gotten a lot better and learned a few things, but I can relate to still kind of feeling like, you know, posts are hard to take off. I noticed for me, it was just kind of it almost felt like the more effort I put in, the less views I would get. And then the more, so like the more I edited, the more I thought and was up in the air about a decision on editing or something like that, the more, like, the less views I got. But then I always joke with everybody about it, but my most viewed post is literally a picture of my face that I just took in the car, and I wrote, "Should I golf 9 holes live today?" And I put my phone down for probably 3 hours, and I went and did my 9 holes like live, ended the round, and then I looked back at my TikTok to just kind of look at the analytics of my live and things like that. And then I clicked on my profile, and it was like 40,000 views, and I was kind of mind blown. I was like, this is just a picture of my face. Like, how did this go viral in a way?
Yep. Yep.
But like, all my edited posts didn't.
Yeah, every content creator that I've ever had on here, bro, literally says the same thing, and I'll agree with you too on that because I've spent hours editing a video, putting filters on it, making sure everything's perfect, putting captions, making sure every word's perfect, editing it to perfect timing, using a shot tracer, whatever, and spend, 3 hours to put this video out and think, bro, this is the one that's gonna go crazy. And then I post it, and 3 hours later, it's got 127 views, 7 likes, 3 comments, and I'm like, "Are you serious?" And then the next day, I'll turn around and be busy as shit and just need to post something, and I'll pull a 10-second clip of whatever that I can find that I haven't posted yet, and it'll go insane. It'll get 40, 50,000 views, 150 likes, 30, 40 comments. And it's
Yep.
like TikTok, it's almost to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but it's almost to me like TikTok, and each platform's different too. YouTube
Mhm.
is definitely the hardest. Instagram's pretty difficult. TikTok's the easiest one per se, but
Yeah.
it's almost like TikTok wants simplicity.
I
Just a
agree.
quick little simple something, and that does well. It's the longer, more edited that it gets. It's like, we're not going to
Well,
push this.
and I think one thing that I've actually kind of learned seeing, because we all scroll TikTok, but I think one thing I learned is I think it's about how your page is. I think if all your content is really highly edited, I have a perfect example that always hits, like, comes to my head, but and it kind of correlates to what we're talking about. But I went camping with my wife, and my wife was like, "We should do a we should, make a little video of, like, getting ready to go camping and going to the campsite, putting up the tent and everything like that." And she was like, "I'll edit it for you. Great idea." And I had seen this content before, maybe not necessarily camping, but just, people's day-to-day lives, going to the golf course. And I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." She edited it super well. I was like, this video is crazy. It's going to go so well. And it really didn't. It didn't do as well as other things. And I was kind of just looking, and I was paying attention to, like, how my TikTok is, like, structured. And I think the channels that start out and you are producing that high edited, high quality content, like, always, I think those channels, once they continue to always post those high quality content. High quality is kind of the bad word there, but that high editing, really detailed content. I think those channels that stick with that do really well. But then your channels that, like, maybe you're throwing up quantity, and I think those channels, because your channel's dedicated to just that authenticity of being pretty natural and just letting it just flow, I think that's where it does well. And I think that's why a lot of creators kind of will say that about TikTok, where it's like, if you have a channel that you're putting a lot of effort, time, detail at every single video, every single time, and everything like that, I think it's going to do well. But then your channels that, you're wanting to throw quantity and just make sure you're posting and things like that, I think it's almost like I would say what I've learned is like, oh, the algorithm in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
So,
And I never really thought of it like that, but that makes complete sense hearing you say that. Like, that totally makes sense. And I kind of would agree with that. I know for me, like, over this past year, I've been doing content just a hair over a year. I'm talking about like a year and a couple weeks, or maybe a
mhm,
year and a month. And I really didn't start posting consistently and taking it serious until probably around the end of February or March of 2025.
mhm.
And dude, I mean, I was talking to my buddy Craig about this earlier today. Shout out Breaking 80. But talking to him about it earlier today, and he was saying, like, honestly, man, I'm shocked that you still do this. He was like, you have put so much, you post so much. I run 5 TikTok pages,
Holy
four or
cow.
5 Instagrams, 2 Facebook pages, Twitters, the podcast. I do a lot of content, bro. Like, I'm constantly posting. And then on my personal page, I mean, I this summer, I there was weeks that I would post 5 videos a day for 7 days straight, just to try to, pump
Get the
numbers.
algorithm going, yeah.
Yeah, and then for the longest time, I mean, probably over 6 months this year, I posted 3 videos a day consecutively. I would post 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, and 1 at night. Now I'm down back to probably like 1 or 2 a day, just because I have so much going on. But dude, I mean, I have literally, but I love doing it. It's not like work to
Yeah,
me. It's literally a passion. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the golf community, and
yeah.
I wanna blow up, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
wanna
of
get
course,
to the
yeah.
point, but honestly, I just enjoy doing it so much that it really doesn't matter to me. Yes.
It's a passion instead
Yeah,
of work.
exactly. You know what I mean? And I hope one day that I can get to where you're at, and I feel like it's gonna happen. Speaking about that, I know that a lot of guys, stress out and worry about getting followers, and as far as you've built it to 10,000 followers, or a little bit more than that, actually. What would you say, like, how did you lock down and do that? Do you think 95% of that came from streaming, or kind of how did you necessarily build it up to that big following that you have
So,
got?
breaking it down to kind of what you were saying, I also now I give you a lot of credit. I'm doing nowhere near what you're doing as far as the accounts. And I've had the same thoughts of, I have my Caterade, my account. It started as my TikTok. It didn't start as content profile. And I think for me, relating to how you're feeling is I also built kind of a strategy. I wasn't doing it still near to the factor you were, but I made like goals for myself where I said, "Hey, I'm going to post every single day for 30 days and I want to see what it does, what happens to it." But being 100% transparent, a lot of my followers are from live streaming. The live streaming for me, and kind of going back to what the question earlier, but like when you asked me when it took off, like when you felt like it was different. When I was averaging like those 100 to 150 viewers a day, I mean, I was coming to my wife and I was like, this is crazy to me. And one thing that awesome, because I was, no matter what time or what I was streaming, I was getting on and I was averaging 100 new followers a stream. And I was like, holy cow.
That's awesome.
And streaming is not probably, I'm going to say 85% of my 10,000 followers. And I don't know what it is about it. And I know you've looked through my TikTok, and I sometimes posting has always been my struggle. So I've relied heavily a lot on streaming, and weirdly, it's kind of slowed down since hitting 10,000. Like the followers, the viewers, it's kind of slowed down, which I was shocked about. I thought I set a goal for myself to hit 10,000. And I thought once I hit 10,000, I thought just everything was going to kind of take off. And it really didn't. It actually slowed down. And you kind of be in the same boat where you were like, your friends asking you, like, how do you keep going? Like, I've had days like that. And the hard part with TikTok and even streaming on TikTok, kind of when I was averaging those 150 viewers, I ended up taking like 3 weeks off. Like, kind of, it was around the holidays. I was just spending a lot of time with family and work and everything like that. And so I ended up not streaming for probably 2 or 3 weeks and I basically lost it all. Like, the viewership, the people engaging, things like I like lost it all. And then it was a huge like reset that was tough to kind of deal with. Like, you're just like, holy cow, all that hard work just kind of thrown away. Like, I kind of built it back up, but even since then, that was probably end of 2024 is when that happened. And then, I spent 2025. I still don't feel like I streamed enough or dedicated myself enough to it, but it was, it's been a struggle, but I would say, kind of going back to the original question, but like 85% of my following is from just live streaming. I think live streaming as a whole on TikTok is kind of in itself a niche topic. And maybe you're aware, but for like the viewers and the people watching, like my live streaming actually has given me opportunities where I got to go to like the TikTok headquarters.
That's awesome.
TikTok their headquarters in Los Angeles actually invited me out to
That is
go.
amazing.
Yeah, and it was a wonderful experience. I have a creator manager up there, Jacob. Shout out Jacob, great guy. But I went up there and I met a bunch of different TikTok creators, and it felt good to kind of get recognized. And it wasn't for posts, like it kind of showed me that there's a bunch of different avenues on TikTok, whether that be TikTok shop, live streaming, hosting, it kind of reinvigorated me to keep pushing, noticing that TikTok seeing what I'm doing, and kind of like I know you complimented me, which I appreciate, but like what I do specifically on TikTok, like being kind of in a way like a little bit of a niche, and and TikTok actually said the same thing, and that's why they wanted to invite me out. And even though when I got invited, I was at like my lowest, or one of my lowest peaks of viewership, where I was averaging like 12 people watching, which is really not that great compared
Right.
to when you're scrolling and you see people having hundreds, thousands of viewers. It felt good only having 12 and them noticing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but live streaming for me is big.
Piggybacking off that, since you brought that up, is there anything that you learned when you were there from TikTok about the algorithm, about posting, live streaming, anything that you would be willing to share with anybody that's in the content world that's listening that you learned directly from TikTok when you got that opportunity?
A lot of it was filming content with TikTok, kind of partnering with them, filming content with them. But even for me, being in that environment and being in a niche field on TikTok, a lot of the other creators there didn't do anything related to golf, and that was a little difficult for me. It kind of goes back to, the comfortability. Like a lot of my stuff is by myself at my setup or on the course by myself or with friends, and so going into an environment like that, you kind of are a little intimidated. But
Yep.
a lot of the things I learned is, I think when it comes to posting, I think one important thing that I still struggle with, but a lot of creators, I learned this once after I went there, and I kind of when I'm watching TikTok, I kind of started paying attention to it. But hooks are a big thing. Hooking
Right.
people into the video in the first 3 seconds. It's a huge thing that's just, I think, drastically underrated. Saying specific hooks to get people in and make them stay. And I notice myself when I'm scrolling TikTok, the videos that do that, I stay on them and I watch them. And I think for anybody out there wanting to make content, really focus and do a lot of research. And this is why I look to my wife and my sister-in-law, because they do it. But like, if you want to be a content creator on TikTok, watch TikTok and pay attention to the details of what people are posting, the hooks, the things that are catching your eye. I think that matters. And I still struggle with it to this day, but it's important. I think hooking people into the videos, what's going to get you the views. And it's a little difficult. I think it wasn't so much learning so much about the algorithm, but I know from filming stuff with them and seeing what the actual people at, and it was, I guess I was working with the TikTok live studio department specifically, but what they kind of did and seeing how they wanted us to film content for their channel and what they did, that's what I kind of learned and things like that. So my trip to TikTok was more dedicated to like the live studio side, like the streaming side, but you still, to get your stream out there, you got to post. So I learned a little bit about posting algorithm, but a lot of it was how to keep people engaged when it comes to streaming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. And like I mentioned earlier, the quality, the setup, the way that you had everything looking when I came across you on my for you page, that's what hooked me in. That's what made me stop. I mean, I've scrolled past 30 other videos and lives, and then I get to yours, and there was a reason. I can't pinpoint it, but I'd like to say, the setup, the cute face, whatever. But but no, the setup and whatever was so good quality. You know what I'm saying? That kind of made me like, hold on, who is this?
yeah,
And they're playing golf. Okay, I want to watch this for a second. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I totally agree with that. One more thing that I've got before we move on this topic is, again, you have over 10,000 followers, and you have talked a little bit about your posting and how your views aren't kind of where you want them, or where you thought they would be, not necessarily where you want them to be, but where you thought they would be. I know that a lot of us smaller guys, we struggle with the fact that sometimes we post a video and it only gets 300 views or 500
Mhm.
views or whatever, after we just had one do, 10 or 20,000,
Yeah.
earlier in the week or earlier that day. Even having 10,000 followers, how many of your videos don't get out of that 3 to 500 jail that they call it?
I think it's the difficult part of content creation in general. You get your couple videos that do in the 10s, 20s to views. You're like, oh my gosh. And every once in a while I'll go back and look at my older content that I posted. And, I think I'm just harder on myself. Like if you look at my page, a lot of my videos are in the, I would say, 1,500 to probably 5,000. Like weirdly have a lot of videos like 1,000, or like 1,000 to 5,000 views, which compared to a lot of people is a good amount of views. But I think as a smaller creator, you kind of beat yourself up because you look at, when you're scrolling TikTok, you're seeing the most popular things, and you see a video on your For You page that they have 500,000 likes. So if they have 500,000 likes, you're just like, how many, like this probably has millions of views. And so I think when you do get your couple videos that um you're really passionate about that you post and they maybe don't do as well, you kind of just have to stick with it. And I think if you're proud of the content you post, I just posted one the other day and it was me making a hole in one on PGA. I thought it was a great video. I thought I edited it well. It wasn't too detailed. It was just, hey, let me edit a little bit, kind of tease the people watching, and then let me post it. And the first day, I think it had like 400 or 500 views. And I was like, dang, that's pretty crappy. But I look at the video now and I think I have like 1,200 views, and it's not, it's not trapped in the, kind of the TikTok jail of, 300 to 500 views. It did do 1,200, but it just took maybe instead of it blowing up that first day, and blowing up, to an extent, but 1,200 views is pretty good. And as long as I was passionate, I think as long as you're passionate about the video you post and you liked it, and it's something I know if I saw somebody else post a very similar video to me, I know I would stay and watch it because I know they put time into it. I feel like I put time into it. I posted it and forget the time into it. But I think people don't realize when you're a content creator, it's not, you got to go find the clip. You got to pull the clip. You got to edit it. It's not as easy as I think everybody makes it out to be, and being biased to kind of your content, what you like to see, you kind of have to look at the consumer, like what they want to see. And, you might think a video would look good this way. And I show my wife the video and she's like, no, you should do this. And I probably majority of the time take her advice because she would be the consumer of the video, if she saw it. So I think creators just need to not be so hard on themselves. I think it's important if you're passionate about the posts you make, stick with it. I mean, it's like you said, I give you a lot of credit for all the channels and all the things you're doing.
Appreciate that.
I think that's underrated. I think it's underappreciated, but just if you're passionate about what you're posting, I think good things will always come.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I feel that way about streaming. If I'm having a tough day, if I'm passionate about the stream and my heart's in it, I know good things will come.
Absolutely. And sometimes leaving that video up, maybe it only does 200 to 500 views right off the rip. But I've noticed a lot lately, and especially since TikTok sold to Oracle, since that they've made some changes recently, and since that I've noticed a lot more than I was before. Notice that I'll post a video, it'll do the 200 to 500 right off the rip, and then overnight it might do another 500 views or 1,000 views overnight,
Exactly.
or into that next morning. So it's just leaving it up and like you said, believing in it. And if you like it, screw it, leave it up, man.
The other thing is too is the nice thing about TikTok is I think videos live longer than a week or longer than a couple days.
That's true.
I know we're here, but like I just pulled up my TikTok. Like I remember specific videos that I've posted that I know were in kind of that dungeon of views right off the rip. And I look at them now and they're in your, a lot of the ones that were kind of in those are in your thousands. And I'm like, dang, this is great. Like,
absolutely.
But because I posted them so long ago, you forget about them. So
right.
Like go back and look at your content. If you're still passionate about it, then there's nothing wrong with that,
Yep. And one thing I wanted to tell you, you had mentioned you posted a video the other day about a hole-in-one on PGA.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a hole-in-one on PGA not too long ago, and I had this great idea. And it was one of those that I thought, man, this is going to go viral. This is going to be my moment. Didn't do that well, but it's still a hell of a video.
Yeah.
So I got the hole-in-one. I took that clip. I put a clip of me hitting an iron shot on a par 3 in the very front of it. And then as soon as I made contact with the ball, it switched over to the PGA ball flight, and
Oh,
went
wow,
right in the
that's
hole where it looked like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
so that that was
That's
pretty
actually
good.
creative.
Oh, yeah, I
I
appreciate
might
that.
steal that idea.
Go
I
with
might
it,
try
bro.
that. I might
Go with
try that. That's cool.
I'll send you the video when we get off here. I'll send it to you so you can check it out.
That's such a creative idea. Like, see, and that's what I think's important about creators on TikTok. Like, everybody's so unique in their ideas. You know, that is like such a unique, fun idea that I would never think of. And so it's cool to see like the creativity throughout TikTok. And I also think like something like this. I think it's important to like small creators. I really do think it's important to kind of relate to each other, you know, discuss with each other how how streaming is. There's another creator that I weirdly watch who streams a lot. I'm gonna just give him a shout out, but his name's Hydration. He doesn't play golf. He doesn't do anything like that, but he streams games that I've played before or that I've streamed before. And me and him have talked like privately, and the same struggles that we all have as small creators. And he's a guy that I think he has like 80,000 followers or something like that. Like he's a guy who is significantly above me, but we do the same thing. And he has the same struggles I do. Like it's not just people shouldn't feel like TikTok's picking on them because trust me, it's not just you. Everybody has the same struggles you're going through, whether you're a creator with 1 million followers or whether you're a creator with 500.
Yep,
So
absolutely. All right. So I know that you mentioned you work a full time job and you do a lot of content as well. So how do you kind of balance that? What does a normal day look like for you working a 9 to 5 and trying to do content and stream?
So this is probably the most difficult thing with content creation for me. So I do work I mean, we say 9 to 5, but realistically, I get up at 4 a.m. to go to work, and so this is probably the most difficult part of content creation for me because I don't mind saying it because most people know, but I do work for the government, like the U.S. government. Specifically, I work for the Department of Defense. And, there's a lot of aspects of working a job where, a lot of people come in my stream and ask me what I do. And just to be completely transparent, like I genuinely can't really talk about it. And the hard part is people want to know about it. And even on top of that, like it limits me because I see a lot of content of people at work and post, like posting their day in the lives and doing things like that. And I would love to do that. But the hard part is I just realistically can't. And so I would love to do day in the life series where I wake up, get ready for work, go to work and kind of show people we've all seen like
Yeah.
they're pretty popular, but like the people who work like your corporate office jobs and they're recording at their cubicle or at their computer, like I can't do that. And so it limits me on the content I'm allowed to do. So all my stuff has to be on my own time, on my free time, once I'm off work on the weekends, and then we have to all remember at the end of the day, like we're all human. Like I have a wife and I love my wife. I want to spend time with her. I want to hang out with her and not just my wife, but my family, her family. Me and my wife are very close with our families. We spend a lot of time with them. And so, and thankfully they all understand that, what I'm doing and stuff like that. But it can be a difficult balance of work, spending time with your wife and your family, and then also trying to, like you said, like make it or, be a creator that people come to and watch. And, I've never really had the opportunity to kind of do content creation full time, but if you kind of followed the news, but like last October, there was the government shutdown. I was able in that month, I was affected by the government shutdown. And in that month, I was able to really do content creation full time. And for me, it taught me so much. It kind of pushed me to work harder to want to do this full time, but taking that leap to kind of do that, it's not something that's easy. And I think from a creator's perspective, it can be kind of frustrating because I don't know anyone specifically, but like there's your creators out there that maybe don't have the same responsibility you do as a husband and things like that, to where you have the freedom to kind of jump off and do and just do full content, like your passion. It's unfortunate, but you just kind of got to go with it and figure it out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's kind of
So
just how life works, man. Until you get to the point where you're making a salary off of content, I mean, you're kind of limited on what you can do because you got to go to work to pay the bills.
exactly. And it's fun. Like everybody at my work, like that I work with, they all know I do it. They all see my content and the funny thing is they're huge like supporters. Like they love that I do that. They love that I have a passion outside of work,
That's
and
awesome.
so it's very cool, but like I said, it can be quite difficult to
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
manage all aspects.
It really is, man. To balance it all is a juggling act. So I totally understand that. Let's talk about golf a little bit. You're sitting at around a 6 to 8 handicap. You mentioned what part of your game improved the fastest?
I think I think I'm the best at my wedges, like chipping around the green. I think I going back to my buddy who I kind of got me into golf, really, he was so good with his wedges. And he always told me, he said, if you want to get good at golf, learn how to hit your wedges, be good around the green. Like even when I started, like most people they're in the hundreds, the mid 90s when they start golfing. For me, I like when I first started golfing, and I was an athlete. I played football, was a quarterback, played basketball, played lacrosse, did all that stuff. So a lot of it is just being an athlete. But he told me, he's like, get good with your wedges and you're going to keep low scores. If you don't hit your driver very well, if you don't hit your irons very well, if your wedges are good and you can be semi decent at putting, you're going to keep pretty low scores to where even when a year into golfing, all my friends were still inviting me to scrambles and things like that because they just knew, okay, if we got one guy who can drive the ball really well, one guy who's good with his irons, a guy who's good at, with his chipping and his wedges,
You're set.
you're set.
Yeah.
And so that's why I always get invited is because like I think my wedges are probably my best like aspect of my game.
Love that. Yeah. Your friend's totally right. If you can chip and putt, man, I mean, you're pretty much gonna be able to navigate a decent score most of the time. Chipping and putting. That 100 yards in is the most important. 150 yards in is the most important part of golf for
See,
sure.
I struggle with 100 yards.
Okay.
I struggle with where I think I excel is like because with your irons, a lot of people will get short of the green or miss right, miss left. So you may have a 30-yard chip or you're on the fringe. That's where I think I excel. Is like I can typically put a chip that's right next to the green. I can put it pretty like within 5 to 6 feet of the hole. So my putts aren't too difficult. But like my biggest struggle, weirdly, wedges from about 100 to 115, or I'd say like 90 to 115. That's my one of my biggest struggles with golf.
Yep. Would you say that creating content with golf has helped or hurted your game?
I think it's helped in a way of it kind of pushes me to go golfing more, going to the range more. I think this was the first or 2025 was the year that I probably went to the range more than I've ever gone to the range. And but you do weigh the aspect of like there are days where you just want to go to the range, throw some headphones in, hit the ball. But being a content creator, you gotta throw up the phone, throw up the tripod because you want to get your clips to post, and things like that. But I think it's helped overall. I think taking the criticism of the people who maybe don't like you, don't like your swing, oh, you're bad at golf. I think it kind of pushes me a little bit to be like, oh, I'm pretty, like, you think I'm bad, then let me hit a good shot and tell me what you think. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly. Speaking of that, I mean, I know for me it's difficult because sometimes I go out, especially if I'm with some buddies that don't necessarily do content.
Mhm.
But how do you kind of select when to make content and when not when you go to play golf or go to the range?
So for me, like specifically rounds, it depends on who I'm going with. I think that's the biggest thing. It really just is even though most people know I do the golf content, like even my coworkers, they all know I do golf content. But for me, I also like have like a moral code, and they've all expressed to me they're okay if I film, they're okay if I do that stuff. And I'll get clips. But when it comes to live streaming specifically, I don't want to put anybody in a situation where they feel like they have to not be themselves. I'm used to the content. I'm used to being myself and people seeing kind of the raw me, but I don't want somebody who isn't necessarily around it. I don't want them to feel like they have to act different, and let alone I don't want them to act different towards me. Like if me and somebody are really close friends, but the second I turn on the camera, they're like just acting a little, and I don't mean different in a bad way, but just like just not being themselves, maybe a little bit more quiet, maybe not as
Yep.
joking around. Like, so it really depends who I go with. But like if I go to the range, if I go to the range, I'm pretty much filming every time, and I still get those jitters of if the range is busy and you got
Yep.
people surrounding you, like, and you're the guy talking to yourself, like it's a little nerve wracking,
Yep.
and then I've even had rounds of golf where I go and I'm supposed to be just going out by myself, and then all of a sudden the course is like, "Hey, we're gonna send somebody with you." I played around a couple weeks ago actually live, and I got paired with a dude, and while I'm live, he's just like asking me what I do and why I'm filming, and he was a gracious guy, like loved filming, but then there's also that aspect of when I go out by myself that you kind of when I'm looking over a putt, I'll sit and talk to, the chat and kind of explain what I'm thinking. Even as I'm hitting the putt, I'll still be talking, but it does make it difficult when I'm playing with like a stranger and their putt and where I would typically be talking, there's still golf etiquette. You don't want to ruin
Yeah.
somebody's experience just because you're trying to get content.
Yeah, that's definitely something I struggle with too. Like I'll say, "Oh, I need to go out and get content, get to the course. It'll be packed." I'm like, I don't want to be the guy slowing people down. Or you've got the thought in your head, okay, if I pull out the camera, everybody's gonna expect me to be, plus handicap golfer. I'm not that. So I don't want to pull out the camera around people I don't know. And then I've got friends that I go play golf with that, I don't think want to be on camera, and they'll be like, "Hey, we're on the seventh hole. Why ain't you filmed nothing yet? Get it out. Let's go."
I get the same thing with my friends, and like when I go with my best friend, he thankfully does like TikTok. He does music though and things like that, and he's actually, because he's like familiar with it. I like going with him because he'll be like, "Hey man, I'll film for you." Because the hardest part before I got the equipment, the hardest part was like I needed somebody to film. It was mostly just like my drives and my putting, because like I could park the golf cart behind my ball and I had the setup enough to where I could show me hitting the ball, but I would go with him and he would like film for me, and I appreciated it. And I got a setup now where depending on who I go with, like I have two mics, and funny enough, the chat actually likes when, or like if I go with my wife, which I haven't gone in a while with her, but like my wife won't really be on camera, but I'll mic her up, I'll mic me up, and then they kind of hear like the banter between me and my wife, and they
Right.
they hear what I'm doing. And so it really, I think doing the content on a golf course can be difficult, but it's also fun. Like I think if you find a gracious enough person who's a like stranger you're with, a lot of them weirdly like will show interest. Like, "Hey, like what are you doing?" Like, "Oh, that's really cool. You do that." And I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
So,
You don't have you a Craftsman golf stick?
oh, you're talking about the tripod.
Yeah, but it has a stick on the bottom where you can just
Yeah,
stick it
yeah,
in the
no, I have
ground.
that. No, I have
Okay.
that. Yeah,
All right.
and I
Cool.
learned, so yeah, I actually learned about that because are you familiar with I'm assuming you probably Melosi Golf?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So a lot of the good guys, like I have a friend that actually like is just an unbelievable golfer, but he's actually friends with Melosi and he plays golf with him all the time. And we played around together, and he actually had Melosi's like stick. It wasn't the Craftsman one, it was a little bit higher quality.
Probably eye range.
Yeah, no, it was super nice, and when I saw that, I was like, "I need to find that." And then, funny enough, like, weirdly, like, after that, I ended up having a lot of the good guys, like, follow me on TikTok. It was cool. It was kinda almost like a full circle moment where they ended up coming in my live stream, and I was like, "What the heck's going on here?"
That's
So,
awesome,
and
dude.
then they were in there, and I was like, "I actually know, like, I golf with one of your buddies," and he was like, "Oh, that's crazy." So, it's
So
fun
they follow
filming.
you on TikTok?
Yeah, yeah, so,
That's
like,
epic.
yeah, so it was actually kind of a surreal moment, like, while I was live streaming, you don't wanna like, fangirl too hard type thing, but also, I think, they're kinda one of the, like, pioneers of just YouTube, like, just golf content creation, and so, for me, like, when I was streaming, and it actually started with like their editor. He came in on his personal, and then he ended up following me, and then the main good TikTok followed me, and then some of the
Wow.
guys from there, and it was kind of like a full circle moment. Like there's been times I've been on the course like playing a par three, and I'm looking at my phone before I hit, and a couple of them will like pop. It'll say like, "Oh, they've joined," and I'm like, "Oh shit, I gotta hit a good shot here," type thing. So
So we know that you're already on 10 or already above 10,000 on TikTok. I've mentioned that a couple times, which is a great milestone. But what is the next milestone you're chasing? What's the 2026 goals for Kade?
So I think for me, I think hitting 10,000 was like a big goal. I was focusing on really getting the followers out there. I think for me, the biggest milestone of this year is creating a consistent viewership amongst my streams. You know, I talked about having that like 100 to 150 for like a 2 month period. You know, it's been really hard to get back to that. And so I think creating that consistent viewership on my stream. You know, I'm not so focused on necessarily followers. They're always like as a creator, you always love getting them. You love growing the numbers and getting more people into your community. But I think really building a community where no matter what, I start the stream and there's 20 people in there every time I stream. So that way it's just consistent. I want to be consistent with the content.
Engagement.
Yeah. And like the content I'm putting out, I want it to be consistent. I want there to be a definitive schedule, and everything like that. And the engagement. I want people, even if I have 20 people in there, I want all 20 people typing in the chat, being a part of the conversation. That's when it's the most fun.
Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah. You had mentioned about that break that you took, and then things kind of changed a little bit. You had everything kind of built up, had a good engagement, good viewership, all that. Then you took those couple weeks off, and you're still trying to fight or climb your way back to where you were. How important is consistency?
consistency is everything. You know, I'll tie it back to me working my job. You know, for the people that do content and can relate, like there are difficult days at work where you're tired. I'll get off work some days and I come home and I know I need to stream, but I can barely keep my eyes open. I'm so tired, you know, getting up early and then just the responsibilities at your house. I think being consistent every day, and my wife does a great job at reminding me, hey, try and stream today. I know you maybe not be feeling it, but get on there, even if it's for an hour, you know, and I think there's a misconception when it comes to streaming on TikTok specifically. You don't need to be live 8 hours. You really don't. At least in my opinion, you don't. I think
I
if you're
agree.
I think if you're consistent and you put in a a good like energy into a stream for 2, 3 hours where you're giving it your all, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think consistency is the key. I think if you are going live every day, honestly, it sounds hard, but like as much as you can. But there's a difference in going live and just hitting live button. I think you got to be consistent. And I think you got to have passion about it. I think, and I'm not saying high energy. Sometimes you can have a chill stream, but I think go live with intent to make someone's day a little better. You know, if someone's having a bad day, that's kind of my mantra with the people that watch my stream is, you know, if I can make your day a little better, life is hard. It's not easy. So if I can make your day a little better, then you know it was a win for me. And so I think being consistent with intent, you know, intent to have passion behind what you're doing, whether it's posting or live streaming.
Are you wanting content creation to, just be something that you do as a side hustle, or are you trying to make this a career?
So I think for me, when I first started, it was like a big side hustle. And, you know, as believe it or not, like most people hate their jobs, hate what they do. I actually do have a lot of passion for what I do. I think what I do is important, like my job. And I think it also has just taught me a lot about myself. And I think it's just taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot. And I think with content creation for a long time, it was just, oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to be like different. You know, be able to, you know, do golf more hopefully, and just like try and just build something it's like building a business. You know, I've never been a business owner, so kudos to you for owning. That's awesome. But like, you know, I'm an employee type thing, and so building something. I know it's considered as business, but like building something like this feels like a business to me. You know,
It
even though
is.
it's a side. And I think having the passion behind it, I really would love to. I really would love to do content creation full time, but you know, I kind of have those, like, in a way, like, I guess you could say, like, traditional views. Like, I would love to, you know, support my family, and you know, I kind of feel like, because I am, like, you know, the husband, like, it's my responsibility to make sure everything's taken care of, make sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I have those. I do believe in that, and so as hard as it is, it's kind of one of those things where I'm okay with it. You know, I think if I look at like that month where I was able to do it full time, being like during the government shutdown, that really drove me to want to do it more. So it just made me have to kick myself in the butt and be like, if you really want to do this, you gotta do just, even though you already feel like you're doing a lot, you gotta just go a little bit more than what you maybe have been before.
Yeah.
So
Is there a dream collab or golf creator that you would love to work with?
yeah, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, because I think a lot of people would say this, but I think the good boys. I think for me it would, like, Melosi's here in Utah with me. I'm actually going to his part of the state here in a couple weeks, and I think just the good guys. I mean, if it was kind of nice when they all followed. You know, it
Yeah.
made it so I can, if I need to reach out to them. I actually thought about starting a little kind of series, like, with posts on my TikTok about, like, going to, like, he lives in St. George. I'm not worried about saying where he lives because he advertises where he lives. But since I'm going there, I thought about making a little series of, like, hey, I'm going out to where you live. Like, let's play a match. He'll
That'd be
destroy
epic.
me. He'll
Yeah.
destroy me.
But
But
still, that would be epic.
it'd be kind of fun because, like, he does a lot of the posting content. I think it'd be fun to do, like, a TikTok live stream of us, like, doing a match. So you kind of get to see the raw, just a little bit of, like, everything. And obviously he's in the content game. And I thought about doing something like that because I'm going out there, but I don't know yet. I
You should
haven't,
do it, brother. Shoot your shot, man.
right?
Rapid fire with Kade, guys, and all of his links will be down in the description wherever you're watching this podcast. So y'all make sure to go check him out. But let's start with this one. Favorite golf course you've ever played so far?
It's in Utah, Soldier Hollow. Beautiful course. You're tucked away. Beautiful course. They have two 18-hole courses, silver and a
Love
gold.
that.
Great course.
Love that. Worst golf habit you have?
When I start having a bad round, beating myself up about it, like, just moving on to the next shot. And I think a lot of people struggle with that, but it's probably mine.
Yep. You got to learn how to forget and move on with golf,
Yeah.
brother.
Too hard on myself.
I heard that. Me too. If you had to pick range or course, which one you going to?
Course all day. I think the course gets your best authentic feel of your swing, and unless you're like an avid range guy, like, you're getting actual real repetitions on the course.
Love that. Yep. I agree with you there. I need to go to the range more, but
Exactly.
I'm always, I'll just go play. I think I know the answer to this one, but streaming or short form content?
I think if you don't have an I think if you're an introvert, short form content. I put myself out there. I'm an outgoing guy. I like to talk. So streaming for me. But if you're just a viewer, you're a listener, and you're thinking about getting into content, and you're kind of an introvert, you don't want to put yourself out there that much, go short form.
That's awesome. Last one for you. One thing you'd tell your younger self when you first picked up a club?
Pick one up. I think I got into golf late. You know, only being 3-4 years in. I think if I could do it all over again, or look back, like, at my peak athleticism, like playing sports and things like that, I think looking now to then, I think if I would have put as much effort I did into other sports, I would have into golf and actually played golf. I think I would be a very good golfer. But
Love that.
Yeah.
I agree. I wish I woulda when I played as a younger kid, I wish I woulda took it serious because I didn't at all. I literally just went because it was what my dad was doing and I wanted to hang out with him, and then, I thought golf was, stupid back then.
Yeah.
And then, now I wish I woulda took it serious. I wish I woulda played on the golf team in high school, all those little things, so
See, and I didn't even play as a kid really. It was just more, but yeah, like I wish I would have played on the golf team. I wish I would have, like, it was tough going into it, like taking it serious right away at a later stage in my life. I wish I would have found the interest, and maybe it's just meant to be finding it later in life, but I wish I would have found interest in golf because my dad would always at least watch golf growing up. And I thought it was so boring to sit and watch golf. And now, like, I'll sit and watch a PGA tournament, like a random weekend. Like,
yeah.
I'll watch it for hours. And my wife's like, this is horrible. Like, you're watching golf. It's so boring. So,
I'll do one more with you. If you could give content creators one piece of advice or one word to live by, what would your best piece of advice for guys that are, like me that are trying to get, a bigger following? What would you say to them?
I would say, I actually have it tattooed on me. It's something that I think is very important, not just content creation, but in life and believe in yourself. I think believing in yourself and everything you do, whether it be your friendships, your content creation, like I think just believing in who you are and not necessarily caring what other people think. I think it's important to, if you like something, if you enjoy something, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. We all have our weird quirks. We all have our odd things about us, but at the end of the day, like the way I like to look at it is you believe in yourself, somebody's going to like it. People have friends for a reason. They like something about you. So be who you are and believe in yourself with content specifically. Don't stray away from what you believe in. Just do it and have fun with it. Have fun. I think that's a misconception, and I forget it too. I forget
Yep.
to enjoy it. So
Yep. I think that's a great way to end it. Caterade, appreciate you, brother. It's been a great episode. Guys, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I said, all of the links for Cade is going to be down in the description wherever you're getting this episode. Also, all of the links from the bunker and my personal stuff will be down below as well. Go check us out. Give us a follow. And if you liked what you hear, make sure you like this podcast. That way I know to bring Cade back on here in a year or so and get an update. But this was episode number 13 of From the Bunker. Can't believe we're 13 weeks in. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all you guys. And we will catch you next week at 7 a.m. on Tuesday.
thank
Appreciate
you
it.
guys.